Hello. I would say welcome back to my channel, except this is the first video I've ever made, and I find that quite exciting. Today's my 31st birthday, and I have wanted to make a YouTube channel, more specifically a BookTube channel, for about 4 years now. In fact, locked firmly in the archives of this YouTube account is a video that I made about 4 years ago, looked at, quailed, and shelved, because I didn't think it was very good. But today's my birthday. 31st birthday, and I thought, hey, give it another go. I've always wanted to make a channel like this. Now, I adore books. More specifically, I adore fantasy and sci-fi fiction. But I have a problem, and that is that my wife, although I love her to pieces, is not a big reader. My family, for the most part, are not big readers. My friends, as well, not big readers. Love them all to pieces, don't get me wrong, but there is a gap there. I want to talk about books. I would love a space in my life where I could sit down and chat about books, whether that's one-on-one, one-on-zero to a camera, discussions with other people, and it seems like BookTube might be the place that I could find that niche, which is why I'm making this video and why I'm just really excited to give it a go. So here I am, awful backdrop, awful microphone, I think a 720p resolution camera. That can all change in the future, but I really just wanted to sit down before the day is out and get this first video going. And what is this video going to be, except my plans for 2025? Now I have a few plans, and like the best plans, they always fall a bit short in the end, but it's something I really wanted to do is get that going. So what I've made here is just a list of books, really, that I want to get through. Now some series I'm partially through, some of them I haven't started, and some of them I'm kind of actually coming towards the tail end of, but looking at 2025 and what I want it to be in terms of my reading goals, these are the highlights that are coming through. A lot of these actually are BookTube darlings, so I think it's quite a nice opportunity to get going. What I'd like to do with this channel in the future is maybe do some book reviews, have some conversations, maybe find a couple of texts or books that are outside of my comfort zone, or maybe something that you haven't heard of, and just basically join in that discussion. This channel is, if it gets 2 subscribers, fine, because it's also a mode of catharsis for me. I'm sure that anyone watching this video has experienced this thing where they finish a series or a book or a trilogy and they put the book down and they stare into space, and because they don't know anyone who's read that same thing, they just sort of have to deal with staring into space. I was a big Malazan Book of the Fallen fan. Still am. It's my favourite series ever. Yes, we'll get to that. But I finished the series in 2013, the first time. And I adored this thing, but no one I knew had ever read it. And although the series has exploded in popularity now, and it was still fairly popular about 10 years ago, I could not find anything about that. So I'm so excited to be living in a space where that discussion is possible. So that's where I'm going for. Now, 2025 plans. What I have here is just a few books that I do want to get to and that I'm hoping to finish, but we'll see how that goes. And the first one is actually book 8, and that is Robin Hobb. I have fallen in love with Robin Hobb over the last 18 months, and I'm only up to the Golden Fool, which is book 8. And what I'd like to do this year, I've got a move coming up. I'm moving countries kind of twice. I want to take these books with me, whether that's Kindle, digitally, or audio or whatever, but I need to get through these. I currently have the rest of the Tawny Man just sitting here in front of me. I love Robin Hobb. Her prose is delectable. Her characters are just so incredibly deep. Oh, yeah. And it's so nice. It's so nice, that thing where you start a series and you're on book 1 and you know there's 15 more books to go, possibly more. And that's what I have with Robin Hobb. I am halfway through this series. I feel like I've got a really firm grasp on what has come previously, but I'm just so excited to see what happens next. Yeah, over the past 18 months, as I say, she's shot into definitely my top 10, if not my top 5 authors, and I am delighted to continue. I am aware that the next quartet is going to be, the Rainwild Chronicles, and that those are seen as young adult, disappointing, simplistic, some even say dull, and I'm quite excited to see if I kind of fall down that same path of criticism, or whether that I think that there's something else there. Yeah, so Robin Hobb is definitely on my list. The second big book I have, R. Scott Baker's The Darkness That Comes Before. I finished this yesterday, and this was actually the impetus for me to start this channel, because I thought, I need to talk about this book, and I'm hoping that maybe one of the next couple of books on this channel will actually be a review of The Darkness That Comes Before, because it is... how to discuss this book? I'll save it for another time. I was told that it was bleak. It is bleak. I was told that it is tough. It is. It is not turgid. It is magnetic. It is hypnotic. It is proper Old Testament, deep down in the gut fantasy that just leaves you, as I said previously, staring at the wall. There's 7 books in the I forget what the different labels are. The Prince of Nothing series? No. Second Apocalypse series, Prince of Nothing trilogy. And if it's anything like this first book, I am a fan for life. Microphone probably popped there, I do apologise. But the only thing I can criticise, to be honest, is this absolutely catastrophic, cataclysmic cover. Whoever thought this would make sales, just do that. Do you know what I mean? Isn't that such a better cover? Anyway, spellbinding in the worst possible way. Awful in the best possible way. I cannot wait to read more. So that's number 2. The third thing I would have is Brandon Sanderson. Maybe what I'll do later, if I can be bothered, is try and find the spreadsheet and actually articulate how many books I have left. But basically, I have them in my mission to finish everything Brandon Sanderson's ever written, which I believe is up to something like 80-something works now. I did this a couple of years ago. I started this as just kind of a side project, see if I could read everything Brandon Sanderson's written, because it's kind of a meme at this point, isn't it? That Brandon Sanderson just writes and writes and writes. I thought, has anyone ever climbed that hill? There must be some diehard fans. But as someone who really enjoys Brandon Sanderson, he's not my favourite author, but I do think he tells really good cinematic stories. Why not try and just read the whole thing? So I found a checklist. Maybe I'll try and link it if I can find it somewhere, the Reddit post where I found it. Literally everything he's written, from stories that he just published on his website, to the Cosmere, to little side novellas that are kind of in, it seems like, publication limbo, or maybe it was published about 15, 20 years ago and it's kind of hard to find. I wanted, I think, 50 of 80 works that are on that spreadsheet, and I'm so excited to get to the last 30. What's been really interesting with Brandon Sanderson, if I make a video about this, is just how eclectic his works are. And also and again, I think this is true of Wind and Truth, the best books aren't necessarily his most famous books. I have had a gorgeous time with the Alcatraz series and the Stephen Leeds series. In some ways I think they're better than Elantris and the first Mistborn trilogy, which I have serious stipulations over. I'm really excited to finish that, and I want to talk about that Brandon Sanderson journey as well. I have 2 more books here, I have a couple more pointers, and then I'll wrap this first video up. So the first one I really want to read, that I haven't started at all, is the Dandelion Dynasty. Now, everyone talks about the Dandelion Dynasty, I feel like, at being such a popular quartet of books. The terms I often hear are global fantasy. You know, the events that happen in these series feel intimate, but they also travel around the world, and you feel like you have a really holistic view of this thing that Ken Liu has created. I haven't seen anyone give this first book less than 5 stars, to be honest. Excuse the plastic cheap mug. And so I am really desperate to see if I feel the same way. So I have this on my list too, and I know nothing about it, so I can't really speak more to it, other than I'm very excited. I've had this book for about a year and a half. I've moved to the Middle East, where I am right now, about a year and a half ago, brought this book with me. In 6 months I'm leaving the Middle East, and I'm going to bring this book with me. And soon, its time is coming. And the last author that I've got here, who I really do want to read through, is Neil Stephenson's Anathem. Anathem? No idea. Know nothing about this book too, other than the fact that it is very, almost like Baker. What's the word? Renowned, maybe. Some people adore it, some people despise it. I read the first maybe 20, 30 pages years ago in a kind of an aborted attempt to give it a go. And my eyes just slid off the page, but not because I wasn't enjoying it, but just it wasn't the time of my life where the book could really sink into me. So that's another standalone I'd love to give a go. The other thing I really want to give a go this year is more manga. So I've read very little manga, and this is kind of a guilty aspect of my life, I guess. I lived in Tokyo for 6 years. 21 through 28 years old, I lived in Tokyo, and I never got into Japanese literature. I tried harder with poetry and things like that. I tried less hard with manga. I don't even know why, it just was something that I kept putting down. A couple of years ago, I got COVID, and I was sitting in an Airbnb because I wasn't home at the time, in this week in total isolation, and all I could do was read Berserk. And I had this really ethereal, kind of nasty couple of weeks, or it was a week and then a week after there, just reading Berserk. And it really opened my eyes to how thematic and, it's hard to call Berserk magnificent, but if you've read it, you know what I mean, and you know what I don't mean, but magnificent that manga can be. So I really want to read 3 different manga this year. The first one is Yotsubato, which I've read previously, and I love. Yotsubato was the stimulus for me becoming a father. I was very, and maybe I'll talk about this in another video down the way, I was a bit hesitant to become a father, but it was reading through Yotze Bateau that really convinced me to give this a go, and now I have 2 wonderful children. Yeah, it was also the first manga, and the only manga to date, I think, no, there's a second one, that I've read in Japanese. So it's really special for me in that way. I'm debating whether I want to read it in English or Japanese, because my Japanese has atrophied in the last wee while, but that is something I would like to give a go as well. I want to read One Piece, and actually, as filming this video, I've come to the end of the East Blue arc, or I've got about 15 chapters left. I'll be honest, the first 70 chapters, I was very hesitant. I don't want to offend any One Piece fans out there, but I guess I found it a little bit trite, a little bit fluffy. And that's maybe just me being a bit pretentious, but I didn't feel like anything was grabbing me. I feel like we were just moving from bad guy to bad guy of the week. And then we've got to, forgive me the name of it. I was reading it last night. Park. You'll know what I'm talking about. It comes about chapter 85, and it just blew me away. I could not stop reading last night. I was reading till about 3 a.m, and I think I've caught the bug, and I'm curious to see if the bug continues. And the last manga I really love to give a go is Hunter x Hunter, and this is me filling in for lost time, making up for lost time, getting these classics that I've heard everyone talk about in an ecstatic manner under my belt. So I don't know how far the manga journey is going to go, to be honest. One of the things I did over Christmas was invest in a very hokey, refurbished iPad mini that's going to be my manga device. I would love to see if this can continue going forward. It's a bit of a black hole in my knowledge, which I do view as a bit shameful. If it goes well, we'll continue on from there. That's all I have to say right now. Oh, no, 2 more. Christopher Rocchio, who I would call, who I had been calling Christopher Rocchio, all those vowels in that name. Sun Eater is on my radar this year. I really want to read this series. I'm a bit hesitant for one reason, which is that it's often called the present day Dune. And I dislike Dune. And I know that is a quite controversial opinion, but I just found the first book narratively brilliant, and from a writing perspective, quite dry and difficult. One of those books that I got halfway through and then had to grit my teeth to get to the end. So from that perspective, I am a bit hesitant. However, because I didn't enjoy Dune because of the writing style more than the story, I'm more than willing to give it a go. And I heard that the final book is coming out next year. So I'm really excited to jump on that train and see if it's a train that I can kind of, choo-choo alongside. Forget I said that. Yeah. And the last thing that I've got written down here right now is The Lonesome Dove Quartet by Larry McMurtry. Best book I read last year. Also, the last book I read last year was Lonesome Dove. I had an amazing week back in Scotland reading this book. Captivated. And in some ways I did it an injustice because I finished it and then immediately moved on to Wind and Truth. 2 massive books side by side. I didn't give myself time to digest this character and thematic masterpiece that it is. And I have so much to say about that book, and again, maybe there'll be a video coming. Here are my goals for this channel. First of all, get better accessories, get a better backdrop, because this is grim. All you can see is a white wall with the fingerprints of my children as they clamber over it. But more deeper than that, my goal is to really begin a conversation, even if it's just a conversation with myself, because I adore reading, and I want an outlet to share that love that I don't have. Yeah, I don't even know. But yeah, it's something I'm really looking forward to. If you have gotten this far into a very stodgy first attempt at a video, thank you very much. I am delighted to be starting this channel finally, and I'm really excited to be making videos for it. Thank you for your time. That was awful. I can do better than that. The next thing I'm going to work on is my outro. I'll see you later. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.